the first photo of what would become me was of the embryo at 3 cells old. And so I've literally been in the press since before my birth. And my first press conference was at 3 days old. And the media has never stopped following me my entire life, including when I gave birth to my own son and got married and all these things. Yes, there was a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure and a lot of eyeballs and a lot of questions. But on the other hand, I grew up with it. And so it was just kind of my life. It was just kind of normal. I mean, I know it wasn't like my friends' lives who didn't have this attention. I just kind of, rolled with the punches as much as I could because I realized like this is just, goes along with being the first of something. And so I learned from a very young age my birth meant for people because it was historic and it was the first time it was done in the US. And that was a big deal and meant, hope for so many people to potentially build their families. Yeah, there were times where it was awful and I hated the attention. And then there are other times that it's really felt like a privilege to be able to shed light on something that so many people need to access in order to build their own family.
How did your parents navigate that attention? Because I know obviously we're talking about you and your experiences, but as the parents themselves and going through that, how did they navigate? And then how did it kind of shape your own sense of self?
So for my parents, they were extremely, extremely lucky that they worked with the program down in Norfolk who took exceptionally good care of them. And to the point of there were armed guards outside of my mother's whole wing of the hospital. There were code words you needed and special badges to get into that wing of the hospital because it was such a media circus. And after my birth, we had a gentleman that I like to call our agent in reverse. You know how most people get an agent to get jobs and get bookings and get press. Well, we had one in reverse to keep press away. And so he was our first line of defense. So luckily, because I was born in the 80s, our phone number was unlisted and unpublished. So if anybody wanted to get in contact with us, they had to talk to this gentleman first, and then he would call us. And so my parents made a conscious decision right away, basically, that they would not do anything that they did not consider educational. So I didn't do the talk show circuit. They did PBS and Nova and, things like that. There's a funny story that I like to relay but almost immediately after I was born, my mother was delivered a dozen long stem roses with a telegram. And the telegram was from the National Enquirer. And it was said something to the effect of like, congratulations on the birth of your baby. We'd love for you to sell us the rights to your baby's story. And, from now until she's 18 years old for some amount of money. My parents, being my parents, just simply wrote back, thank you so much for the roses.